You all set?
Good.
Okay. I'd like to call the Board of Light and Power September board meeting to order. Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Director Crum,
Here.
Director Knopf is absent. Director Polyak,
Here.
Director Welling,
Here.
Chairperson Westbrook.
Here. Can I get a motion to excuse Director Cano for personal reasons?
I'll make the motion.
Support. Second. Discussion. If none, Danielle, call the roll, please.
Crum,
Yes.
Polyak,
Yes.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Next item is the approval of tonight's meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Motion,
Second,
discussion. Hearing none, Danielle, call the roll, please.
Crum,
Yes.
Polyak,
yes,
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time is one of two opportunities for public comments from our general public. Jim, you have any comments?
Yeah.
You know the drill. We ask you to provide your name and address, any affiliated organization. You have 3 minutes and Dan Della will be keeping your time.
Okay, Jim Hagan, 400 Lake. I had the opportunity on Tuesday to attend the airport board meeting. And so I asked them, I was curious, do you guys have any problems with the conceptual solar array? And they said, well, that was only done during a comment period. So it told me that they wanted to see more of an official presentation and so forth from the Board of Light and Power. So from what I've seen and going through, exercises on, AI and so forth, I don't see any huge major problems. So I would really encourage that package to be put together and presented to the board at the October meeting. So that you can move it along. I think they're the primary stakeholder on it. I don't think, this city is going to move without having the airport board really weigh in on a positive, support on it. So I encourage, the VLP board and administration to put that package together and present it to them. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Anybody else? Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Make the motion.
Motion. Second by Polyak. Discussion.
yeah, there's a couple things in the KPIs to point out, usually we see something in the yellow or the red, we bring it up. Reliability, we're trending in the right direction, so we're trending down, hopefully, things go as planned. We'll drop September off and we're back in the good range here, hopefully starting next month. You know, see, May was the big storm we had this spring, so that one's still gonna be there, so we'll still be dealing with that. The other one is on power supply. You'll see that is in the red there. Once again, we talked about that last month. We had a very hot summer, so sustained over 90-degree days. So we sold more power than we thought we were gonna sell. So not a bad thing, just it's just a variance from what our guesstimate was.
Any other questions for Rob on the consent agenda or any other items? Hearing none, Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Crum,
Yes.
Polyak,
Yes.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Next up is purchase orders. Can I get a motion to approve the 4 purchase orders in the amount of $293,000, $293,164.
I'll make the motion.
My second.
Motion second. Questions on any of those? Stuff. Hearing none, Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Crum,
Yes.
Polyak,
Yes.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Next up, we're gonna take a quick look at our electrical rules, state standards and rates and some changes. Can I first get a motion to approve the electrical rules, standards and rates effective October 1st, 2025?
I'll make the motion.
Motion,
Second.
second by Poliak.
Yeah, with that, now we can open discussion there. I did put in your packet, the full rate book. Worth noting, the rates and stuff have already been approved, so we've already done that, so that would be Articles 13 through 22. And I did give you a kind of a one-page document of kind of highlighting the major changes, as well as in your board packet you did receive. Hard to follow, admittedly, all the track change did red line, so obviously this is meant to be more of a discussion, so I'm gonna hit some of the high level things there. And obviously, questions are encouraged, and I'm sure that'll help facilitate our discussion on why we did what we did, or maybe some of the logic process behind it, so. The big driver on a lot of these is, if you remember, we've been talking about the LIHEAP program, Public Act 95, disconnects in the winter, everybody has a different name for it, but they're all connected in the same thing. So a lot of our stuff you'll see is circling around updating our policies to match with the new state law. So obviously, we're going to be disconnecting the winter year round now, so that obviously will trickle into, deposits and things like that, shut off procedures. So a lot of those things you're seeing are just a way of us getting up to speed with our new processes that are reflecting the state law, as well as some of it is just general cleanup on things we're currently already doing, or things that, just need to be cleaned up from, the last time we did this a handful of years ago. So one of the top one there on Article 3 is we added a $100 investigation fee for after hours. I think what's important to note there is the purpose for this is we do have smart meters, AMI, etc. We do know the type of, if we have power outages or issues. So if you think through the process of how people are going to call in, they're going to call in and say, hey, I don't have power. Or we're going to know because AMI will report that automatically to our system. We're able to ping a meter, check voltages, all those types of things. No problem. But we do have sometimes customers that call and say, hey, my Ring camera is not working. I must have a power outage. We go through all the issues of checking it. All your neighbors have power. We ping your meter. You've got good voltage, but they're insistent we roll a truck out there. So this is an idea to say, hey, $100 is not going to cover a truck roll, especially after hours, but it's enough to have some skin in the game. Sure, our operators will be able to tell them, listen, if you'd like us to come, we're more than happy to. But if we get out there and it is your internal problem, we can charge you a $100 investigation fee. So that's the idea behind that. It will be used at after hours through the operators and having those conversations with those customers as they're trying to troubleshoot. Obviously, during normal business hours, all that kind of stuff, we're here to help. We want to make sure we keep that high level of service that everybody's accustomed to, and that we're proud to provide. But at a certain point, my Ring camera doesn't work, or I'm coming up this weekend. Can you drive out there and verify that my power's on? Someone's got to pay for that, and that's being borne by all the other customers. So this is enough to make sure they've got a little skin in the game to make sure they're really thinking through that process.
And so that's discretionary, right? I guess,
Correct.
What is what you're saying, and it's in normal hours, there's no charge.
Correct.
If they come out, this is only for after hours, couldn't resolve with AMI.
Yep. I mean, we have guys.
You try to do everything you can to resolve the issue.
We want to use our technology, right? We invest in this technology, and a lot of times we're actually contacting people that, hey, we see you don't have power. Oh, geez, at the middle of the night, we'll contact people. Oh, I didn't know, and we'll roll a truck. That's the service we're going to provide, but we want to use that technology to our advantage. That's part of the reason to have it. So, it's pretty common practice in the utility space. We just haven't had it before because, frankly, before we had AMI, we didn't know. We had to rely on our customers to call in. And so that was our only way of knowing we didn't have power. So I can't check, I can't troubleshoot from here. I have to send somebody. Now we have tools that we want to use to help have better customer service.
And so like the customer you're saying who's calling about their Ring camera being off or something, if you go out there during the day, you're not going to charge them.
Well, typically we'll say, hey, we'll send a truck by at some point. We'll drive out there.
Yeah.
So we have 3 techs that are on the road all the time, meter techs. We have a service crew, which is a 2-man line crew that are out that can, hey, we need to go do a disconnect, reconnect. Can you drive by? We got a call of a down wire or any of those sections. We have people that's kind of their day-to-day business of handling that. So that's just part of the normal course of process. After hours, that means we're calling people in. So if we had to do that call, we call in 2 people and it's a 2-hour minimum call in time, so. I'm basically paying 4 man hours. To go out and verify whether or not your breaker was tripped. You know, check your breakers, you know, like I said, troubleshoot on the phone, our operators will go through all that, hey, have you checked your breakers, have you done that? Our customer service does the same thing, actually in our AMI system, or I'm sorry, our outage management system, we actually have a prompt there for questions to ask. You know, do your neighbors have power? You know, do you have all power off, just partial power, so we've got these out built into our process. Article 4, I think the big one there I'll highlight, but I'm gonna talk about it at a later time, further down, is the $50 additional deposit. A lot of those things are to update with either new state law requirements or like the door tags being removed. Once again, state law says if you're doing remote disconnects, which we're doing with AMI, you don't have to hang a door tag. So we're just cleaning up the language to match what the law says and what our practices are. Updated the cooling and heating season shutoff. So when I say weather there, what that means is we've set some values or parameters that say, hey, if it's gonna be extremely hot, we're not gonna do disconnects. If it's gonna be really cold, we're not gonna do disconnects. So obviously we set those at a level where we think, based on National Weather Service or NOAA, where they say dangerous levels. We don't want to be adding to a problem. I think it's 95 degrees. I'm going off the top of my head here, so don't hold me to that, but 95 degrees in the summertime. We're not going to do disconnects. We'll just wait until the weather cools off and then we'll handle that business at that time. We added
again, that people can search out resources
absolutely
that are developed to help them get the power back on.
That's one of the big things I was going to kind of talk about with our disconnects and deposits and things like that. With a lot of these things changing, yes, we are able to turn off in the winter. But if you remember all the LIHEAP discussion we have a lot more money. There's $225,000 annually out there to assist people with utility bills, whether it's electrical or heating. The state eligibility has been loosened up, so more people will qualify for this help. You don't have to wait till you're disconnected to get help. So the key message for all these things is the money's there, the money's available. Please, 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 please get the help before you get yourself in trouble. That's what it's there for. So it may seem like, hey, you're adding a lot of these things. We're hoping not to use them. We want people to keep their lights on, pay their bills, and get the assistance if they need the assistance. So that kind of all goes hand in hand. So it seems like we're looking at one end of the thing, but we talked about that. If you remember earlier in the spring, we decided to do how we're going to do the LIHEAP compliance with the state. So keep that in mind. We've been working with that, sending out, I think it was a bill stuffer that kind of gave information on how all this is going to change. We've been working with the Salvation Army on making sure we're asking the right questions, they're asking questions, getting that process set up, because that's why we're talking about October 1st. That's when the heating season starts. So that's when all the new rules take effect. So if anybody's listening that needs help, please contact us, contact the Salvation Army, dial 211, get the help you need. Let's not get in a bad situation. There's help out there. Goes right to the last point of under Article 4, removed hometown helping hand and added the LIHEAP because we changed programs around. Winter protection plan, once again, it's a state law. We had to add a payment plan in there. We did add military shutoff protection, so if we have someone that is deployed, we will delay shutoffs and work with them on that. So we have actually a formal protection in our rules there. Late penalties and shutoffs, we changed things around. If you see in there, we said remote and non-remote. So why is that important? With AMI, almost all our residential customers that we're going to disconnect will have a remote meter or a disconnect meter. So we don't roll a truck, we can just shut it off. So if we do that, of course, that's good for us. It's a less of a labor intensive process. So that's why there's a difference between a remote and non-remote. If I have to go there, we have to roll guys out there. We've got to, takes more time, all that other thing. So that's why there's a difference between remote and non-remote. So it's just for a way for us to try to recoup some of those costs. Once again, if the people that are using that service aren't paying for it, all the other customers are paying for it. So that's a reason for that. And you'll see that even in the non-residential that we've separated out whether they can be done remotely or non-remotely. So, Article 6, dispute and complaint procedure. We had a dispute procedure. A dispute is if you're not happy with the bill or something like that, how do you contact us? What's the procedure to go through? We never really had written down a formal complaint procedure. So if you have a complaint, which is different than a dispute, how would we handle that? So we added that in there. Probably one of the big
complaint, like what type of complaint are you talking, like
could be anything from not happy how tree trimming was done,
Okay.
or I didn't this, that, more of a service oriented complaint, not really disputing a payment,
gotcha.
or an invoice, I should say. Probably the big one that's probably we're talking, the most talk about is Article 7, deposit and collection procedures. This is where we probably made the most changes. And I'll kind of give you the rundown of what we were thinking is. Take a drink of water here. We couldn't disconnect in the wintertime in the past, so our exposure was much higher. When you can go from November to April and not be disconnected. So you can imagine there's a lot of months there where those past due amounts can really climb. Now we're able to continue the same process year round. So our exposure is going to go down significantly. So obviously that should be reflected in our deposits. So our old deposit scheme was a little more complicated. It mattered if you lived in the city or outside the city. Were you in a mobile home community or not? Did you have what we call a landlord protection or a lien waiver or not? So there's a lot of things that we had to, the if-then chart to figure out how to start service was a bit intensive. And something from our customer service, great, simplify it. It's easy for people to understand what they expect when they walk in the door. It's easier for them to deal with. Just let's make it straightforward. Well, if you think through our process of how a disconnect will work, it's around a 2-month time frame of what from a past due bill to disconnect time. So what we've decided for residential is we're going to take 2 months average residential bill, not that particular resident, but our average residential bill. Or a minimum of $200, because let's face it, we want a nice easy round number. No one wants to give it, here's $195.32, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense. So we put a $200 minimum deposit on there, but we added that verbiage so that we don't have to keep coming back and saying, is $200 the right number? If we're using that same kind of thought process. We've got a 2-month exposure, let's get a 2-month deposit. It doesn't matter if you're in the city anymore or outside the city. It doesn't matter if you have landlord protection or not. You are responsible as a customer of the Board of Light and Power to pay your bill. And you're gonna get 2 months of grace period to get that done. Once again, get the help. If you need help, get help. Call us. We can set up payment plans. We do all sorts of stuff to work with people. So with that, what we did say is, we do know that not every customer uses electricity the same way. Especially in summertime or wintertime when people are really using a lot more energy. So we said, okay, if you do get disconnected from us, we are going to require for residential $50 more of a deposit, up to a total of 2 times the standard deposit. So up to $400, which by the way is the deposit amount right now for people with landlord protection, lien waivers, that kind of stuff, or people in a mobile home community. So the people that are paying their bills in those types of situations, their deposits getting cut in half. And great, that's exactly what we want. We want people to be able to pay their bills and keep everything running forward. If you're not, you're demonstrating to us you are a risk, then we're going to ask you for additional deposit. And we're going to cap it at what is our current level. So, because as you imagine, sometimes I don't know about you, but this really hot summer, my electric bill is higher than it normally is the rest of the month. So those might be the months where those are some months we have problems. So kind of did a lot of the same idea. I know it's not really there, but the kind of it's kind of the same suit we did with commercial properties. We kind of had a 2 months bill for them because we've always been able to disconnect them. So where we kind of modeled it, what we're doing with people we could already disconnect year round. Article 9. One thing changed there was, we said all meters need to be moved outdoors anymore for like apartment complexes and stuff. Which has been our standard practice anyways. We're just adding it up and making sure it's in black and white for everybody. Customer requested meter testing fee is increased from $35 to $75. Once again, I don't want someone to think, well, geez, I call, I complain about my bill, I'm gonna get hit with a fee. That's not how that works. You call us, we look at it, you know, it usually starts at customer service. They'll pull the data and go, hey, this is what's going on. What happened here? What's happened here? It's an anomaly or it's not. Try to work through it that way. If it still doesn't get there, then it typically goes into technical services. We'll typically roll people out there. We'll get an engineering eye on to see if it makes sense or not. This is kind of the last resort when we say, hey, we've investigated everything. You've used the energy. You owe us that money. We don't see any anomalies. We don't see anything wrong. And once again, when that customer's adamant, my meter's broken. My meter's got to be broken. And we're telling you, no, we've already checked it. It's not. And we go out and we test it. If it tests out fine, there's a fee. If it's broken, guess what? We fix it and we take care of it. That's the BLP's issue, right? So I don't want to think, hey, if I call and make a complaint, you're gonna have a fee. That's not what that is. That is toward the end of the process that you would normally work through. Article 11, temporary service. We increased the service charge from $250 to $300. What that is, if someone wants to build a new home or I guess anything, apartment complex, condos, whatever it is, contractor needs temporary power to do construction power. That's the charge for us to go up and hook up their service and then remove it when they're ready to be done. So it's just reflecting the increase in our costs as well.
How long's that been 250? Is that a long?
It's been 250, I think, since 2018-ish. I think was the last time we maybe adjusted this. So it's been a while. They have to also pay for the electricity they're using there, but it's the roll the truck, hook up their meter, install the meter, and then the inverse when we're ready to be done with that. So. And like I said, Articles 13 through 22 were already approved in July, so they're just, that's part of the whole packet. We just put this one big book for everybody to be able to find the data where they need it in one location. So. With that, is there any questions or?
Well, on the landlord protection, explain that one more time.
Okay. It's confusing and complicated, and I got Danielle and Lynn here that can help when I put my foot in my mouth as well, so please feel free to chime in. Simply put, if we know that so it's a rental, and they say, here's my lease, and the landlord says, you know it's a rental. The renter is responsible for the electric charge. So once they notify the utility, we lose certain abilities to regain that, i.e. leaning the property. So if I have someone that owns a home, you don't pay your bill, I can either lien the property, I can put it on the tax roll, and we can get our money back. We lose that leaning capability if the landlord notifies us that the renter is responsible for it. So in the past, we used to say, if you tell us that, I know I can't lien that property, the deposit went up. So for a lot of our landlords, that would make sense. Would you want to lien on your property because your tenant didn't pay their electric bill? Probably not. So they would fill that out. So if you were in the city in the past years ago, it was $100 if you're a renter and you didn't have landlord protection. When you did get landlord protection, it went to $400. So now I don't care if you have lien protection or not. I'm going to take 2 months, kind of like you would when you move into a place. First and last month rent, same idea, and that's going to hopefully cover us. The good news is this is new. Just like we're having a discussion here. If we come here next year and go, well, that didn't work out so well. We had a lot of write-offs and things went really crazy. We can always adjust it if need be, but I think this makes sense at this point. Anything you want to add, Lynn or Danielle? Okay.
Well, in the past, we've had some landlords actually ask why that was so much money. And I think, this helps, ease that burden on the renters per se, so
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing.
And we had the same thing we had in the past, we had mobile home communities, because we had the same problem there. You know, why is my deposit gotta be so much higher than others? Well, if you can imagine, if I don't shut off for 6 months,
right?
that can get really high. We don't have that issue anymore, so like I said, and we talked about that a little bit in the spring, we were talking about things that are gonna come changing. That we would look at it and, yeah, I guess some people, the lowest deposit used to be $100, so it went to 200. But a lot of people went from 400 down to 200.
And the disconnection time, like, is you don't pay a bill for a month.
So
And
you
like at the third month, you get shut off, is that right? So
before the third month, so if you really think about it, you pay after, if you think about, I use it like pumping gas at the gas station, right? How the electric utility works is you pump the gas all you want, then you have to go inside and pay the count. We don't do prepaid like you would. So you use the electricity for a month, we send you a bill. You don't pay that bill. 30 days later, you get another bill, right? And with this past due amount on it. And I believe it's after that, it's 15 days after that is when you will be disconnected. So you really have used about 2 months, well, 2.5 months worth of electricity before you're disconnected for non-payment.
which equates to what our deposit is, so.
Yeah.
That's the thought process.
That's our thought process. You're typically about two months out before you get disconnected. So no one gets disconnected because they're five days late on one invoice. You literally have 45 days after that to get paid. And in that time, once again, please get help. So, you know, no one enjoys going into this next season. None of us like doing that. I'm sure our customers don't like it on the other end, so. Reach out, talk to us, talk to Salvation Army 211. There's lots of places with people that are willing to help if you need it.
And how many people like, I mean, I know that that's extreme, but how many people go the whole winter without paying their electricity? I mean, is it tens of people, I mean, is it, I mean, we're talking.
It's allowed.
It's, yeah, so
So
I don't know if it's all winter, but typically we can't shut off from November to April. So it's like April 15th is when
it's a blitz of
it's
activity.
D-Day, right? And there's about 150 to 200, I think, last year.
Okay,
Now, a lot of them get caught up within a day or two and get
no, when they
paid
need
up.
to.
But, you know, some of those invoices, past dues were over $1,000 for
Yeah.
homes, so. Now keep in mind, we've always been able to disconnect commercial and industrial properties year round. So that's why I mentioned earlier, we're kind of following that same process there. So. Hopefully, in my opinion. Getting. Disconnected stinks. But it's a heck of a lot better than getting $1,500 in the hole and not knowing how you're gonna get out.
That's a nightmare.
So, yes, let's maybe you get $200-300 in the hole and we've helped you figure this out before you get to a point where it feels like a mountain and you're crumbling underneath it. So there is some good things about the changes.
And I see there's military shut off for protection, but we've got elderly
Yep.
shut, I mean, there's other things baked in there.
Yep.
too. I mean, it's so that.
Yeah, we've always had elderly, so that's been in there. So there is a lot of laws by the state of Michigan that. Who, when, where, procedures you must go through to disconnect, and a lot of our rules are basically cut and paste of the state law. So they match up with basically every other utility in the state as well.
Any other questions from?
Just a statement, it's, kudos to the BOP staff at the end of year write-offs, when you have a 5-month block. Where you can't do anything with delinquent payments. So it's gonna be interesting to see, you've managed to keep that number so low, it's gonna be, even lower,
Hopefully,
yeah.
and like I said, they did raise the. Eligibility requirements for assistance. So. I know I keep saying it and I'm trying to be a broken record that they hear it. Check, because hopefully. It's people that can get help and they can. Not feel, because if you don't pay us, we end up going to collections and all that kind of stuff, and that's gonna follow you. So nobody wants that on their record either, or their history, so. Work with us, we'll work with you as best we can, and our customer service, they're a heck of a lot nicer than I am, I'll just say that. They work really hard to to work with everybody and get them the help they can.
There's no other questions. Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Crump,
Yes.
Kolyak,
Yes.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes. Next up is approval of our schedule. I got a motion to approve the 2026 board meeting schedule.
Make motion. Second.
Motion and second. I think we've got two schedules to look at in our packet. The first one is our regular meeting schedule. Looks like most of them are falling on the traditional third Thursday of the month. Got a couple of dates that were shifted around in there for a couple of different reasons. Hopefully everybody's had a time to look at that and look at their calendars and see if they got a wedding or a life event that they need to be at and any conflicts. Any recommendations from the board on date changes or adjustments while we kind of lock in our schedule for the year? We can be a little bit flexible, just like give as much notice as we can.
I'm just gonna be here.
Dates all look good for me too.
Yeah, looks good.
All right. The second schedule of meetings is a little bit of the key items that we do throughout the year. Rob, we've got strategic planning coming up this year, so if maybe just want to share kind of how that process would work for us.
Yep, so you'll see there, and I think there's a couple things I want to, I'll talk about through here. First is the strategic planning, so we've been talking about that all along, is 2026 strategic planning is due, so kind of our goal there, you see in January, to have some proposals together to help us select a consultant to assist us with strategic planning. We're already for strategic planning on doing things before January, because we're trying to gather as much input from stakeholders as we can. And we'll talk about one of them coming up next. But and then you'll see what the next thing we're planning to do is in April. It's not a date there, but we're talking about having a strategic planning work session. So I would suggest that we look at another day than the board meeting day, because that's our first go at the capital and expense budget. So it's gonna be a longer presentation anyways. And the strategic work session plan is our goal is between January 15th and April to have some community forums, to probably have some key account luncheons, those types of things, to gather some information and give staff time to put together some data with our consultant, and then bring it to the board as a extremely rough draft or high level, so that we can bake your inputs into it and clean all that up. And then you can see it in May, we're talking about it, bringing you the draft plan, for you to review it, comment on it again, and hopefully incorporate all your comments from in April. And then in June, bring you the actual approval of it. So like I said, April will be the heavy lift of the meeting. May, there will be a presentation, kind of go through where we're at, looking to guard, give you one more month to look at it, make sure we're all in agreement before we actually try to boil that down. But I think the key thing is that gives us time between January and April for staff and the public and board to start putting all this, like I said, the stakeholders, getting that information together to really put something on paper, so that when we're not just staring at each other in April trying to figure out, start from scratch. We're going to have something available for you to review and ready to be worked on. So that's kind of the big one there for strategic plans, that helps you understand the overview there. The one thing that I did hear some comments back that I think we should add to this is, and thank you, Director Crum, it was a good idea, was we didn't see on there was our joint meetings with City Council. So I think it's a great idea to put this on our schedule now, so that we can give that to City Council and say, hey, these are the months we're looking at. Let's start planning now, so we get 6 months notice, not 2 weeks or 3 weeks notice. So I think if we've talked in the past, I think it makes sense, if you think about everything we've got going on, a spring and a fall, or roughly every 6 months, having a joint meeting makes sense in my mind. And a spring and fall makes sense because I don't know about you, but summertime in Grand Haven's a kind of a special time, and no one wants to be inside with extra meetings. So yeah. So I was thinking probably May and October to set up, and I would propose that we go to city council and say, hey, you've got your scheduled meetings already for that month. Why don't we pick one of those Monday evenings and have a work session before your normal meeting? Let's get those penciled in so that we can put that on that calendar too. So that, I'm seeing everybody nod their head, that seems to make sense. If that makes sense, we'll take that as an action item so that we can get that rolling here on that as well. So it doesn't affect your actual official board meeting schedule, but it gets us another thing on our calendar so that we're looking out in advance.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you try to schedule those meetings and you got 10 people, you're trying to find dates that work. It's that just getting it on the calendar would be
Yeah.
great. It's a great idea. Then I see you got the multi-year items on there, just keeping track of those things at the bottom. That's good, good too.
Yeah, I keep this hanging up in my office, so I keep on track.
Just keeps us on track. All right, any other feedback before we make a motion already? I guess. we did.
Yes, you did.
Any other feedback for share? Danielle, would you call the roll, please?
Trump,
Yes.
Poliak,
Yes.
Welling,
Yes.
Westbrook.
Yes.
All right,
Business.
other business. In your packet, you saw we have been making this public out here. We're having an open house to celebrate Public Power Week. For the audience or people in the audience that don't know, the first full week of October or the week of October 5th is Public Power Week across the nation. So in order to celebrate that, we're gonna have an open house at our offices on Eaton Drive from 3:30 to 6. We are looking at having, and I go to the next slide there, Austin. We have a kids coloring contest we're putting on for that, so we'll be asking kids if they can enter to win an Amazon gift card. Touch of trucks, so we're planning on having trucks and stuff set up back, so you know people can come and see them up close and personal. Electrical safety demonstrations, an Ask the BLP booth. We all know that's why we're here. We're remodeling our building, so we should be at a good point there. It's not going to be complete, but it's enough that everybody's going to be able to see what we've been working on for the last handful of months, and get a good visual of that. So note, hopefully in October, we will have our board meeting at Eaton Drive. We're on schedule for that, so. Customer appreciation table, so we'll have some BLP swag and giveaways. You know, some stuff for the children, kids to be able to take a picture with BLP, cardboard cutouts and plastic hard hats. About the Ask the BLP booth, we're planning on developing a form to help gather information for our strategic planning process. So people can give us comments and feedback on what we're doing and things they find valuable. So we would encourage everybody in the public and board members to put on their calendar and come out. We'll have some light refreshments as well available. And it should be a pretty fun time.
Yeah. Right. Sounds good. Good input for strategic planning content. The only thing I had was Harbor Drive Underground, if you want to give a little update on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn that over to Austin, so.
See the works kind of
Yeah.
commenced.
Yes, I'm sure everyone in town can see that we have a lot of trucks up there on Harbor Drive. Kent Power is our contractor for that project. So they are actually at the stage now of pulling wire in under Harbor Drive. This last week, we ran into a little bit of a snag in the project, and we have some issues with some of our conduits that have been in the ground for quite a few years. So the hole in the sidewalk that's there currently on the river side, hopefully we'll have covered up next week after we repair some conduit and get our wire through there. So to everyone in the public, thank you for being patient with us. Understand that's a beautiful part of town and we want to get that taken care of as soon as we can. When we're done, of course, all of the overhead lines there from Columbus to Howard will be removed. So it should be a really nice thing for the community. Just have to get all those big reels of cable in the ground first.
What's the timeline on those things coming down? I mean, that feels like I just was curious, like.
Goal is to
Winter
be,
time, is that,
goal is to be complete by November 15th.
okay, so they're coming down.
They're coming down soon, but with this, we've lost some time with this snag, but it'll happen before the tourists are back.
Okay. No, keep us posted on those dates for.
Absolutely.
Coming down. So that's.
Yeah, we're planning on taking pictures and posting information on our website for that. I know that's been a long-term project and highly visible project for a lot of people in the community. So it's one of those that a lot of times we go out and rebuild things and nobody, you know, that's neat, got new poles, right? Yeah. this one is a bigger one, so we're planning to document it a little bit more than a normal project. Other thing I wanted to bring up is give Dan and Austin a little bit of a shout out. We had some problems with some of our electrical firewalls this week, and I know the board has seen a lot of POs come through on IT stuff lately. It paid off this week. We had some failures and we relatively unscathed or to be able to come through it. So the redundancy systems that Austin and Dan have really been working hard to put in systems worked. Nothing quite like dynamic testing it before you're quite ready, but it worked. So good. I appreciate their hard work on that this week, and it was a lot of, especially for Austin, both Harbor Drive and the firewall kind of dumping on him on the same week while he's at office at the MMA conference. So a lot of juggling. So.
Lastly, the MMA conference highlights, it was a good thing, a lot of board members went. Just want to share, I got a lot of feedback from people I met saying what great job all the BLP staff does. Rave reviews from the BLP are, saying, gosh, you guys have a world-class outfit there, and it was, just reinforces all the things we already know about the BLP, but I was like, really easy to be board sharing when you're hearing all these people coming up and saying fantastic things about you guys and the BLP. So, and some good content. Cybersecurity was a content, battery storage was a good content, and some of the community risks and things that come into play with battery storage. I know we've been talking, that may be a topic for our strategic planning event. Some things about legislation and lobbying. It was a good overall list. I don't know if you guys got anything to add. I thought it was, just an interesting bit of information for me altogether.
Give Kennedy a shout out there. She assisted. So being it was in Muskegon, it's kind of a home game for us. So we took the opportunity to participate a lot. So a lot of our staff was able to go more than if it was on the other side of state, and especially I appreciate the board coming. And Kennedy did a great job assisting MMA and putting it on. So overall, really happy. Like you said, Mike, I hear the same thing, and it makes me feel happy. Then it makes me look good because I have a great staff and everybody with their help, and it was a good program. So thank you to Kennedy for all her hard work she put in on that as well.
With that, public comment. Anybody? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make the motion.
Second.
All opposed in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did I say that right? All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
I was thinking, okay, what?
All opposed, say nay. Hearing none, meeting adjourned.